Doctors, and welcome to the Life First podcast where we're reviewing Lost Storage, Elrics, and making decks for them. This one we're going to talk about is Dona. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I struggled the longest on Dona, which is kind of strange to say, because I don't think Dona's particularly hard of an Elrig to figure out. It was easier for me to build a deck for Maho Maho, Rill, and Aya, right, than it was for me to build Dona. Now, Dona doesn't have a lot of Japanese wins under her belt, which is part of the reason why, right? Aya's got a lot of Japanese wins under the belt, so some of the tech is already kind of figured out. Rill is pretty clear in what it's trying to do with with literally what its center says, and it's sort of build by numbers and then figure out how to tweak those numbers, and that's the hardest part, but not necessarily what should go in the deck. Maho Maho was difficult to figure out what colors it wanted to be in, but once you unlocked the core identity of what Maho Maho as a center is trying to do, it was not too difficult to build out the deck. You just basically figured out, like, oh, how do I lean on already proven tech to get me there? Dona is interesting. Not because, again, Dona's hard to figure out what you want to do with the center, but it's how you make that work. Because Dona's asking for something that the game doesn't necessarily support. And I made about 4 different iterations of the main deck before I settled on this one being the best version. Let's go into what the Elrig is asking you to do as just a center in general, before we go into what the main deck could be. And that is Dona's a level 3 white Elrig with the following abilities. You get 2 coins, and it's worth mentioning that at level 1 you get 3 coins, so you get a total of 5 coins throughout the entirety of Dona's game. Dona does not get any more coins than that, so enjoy your 5 coins. You can make use of them if you wish. Its auto ability is at the beginning of your attack phase. You get to target 1 level 3 white Elrig on your field, and it gains the constant ability of Signi gains Shadow during your opponent's turn until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's kind of making, it's like an anime thing where it's Dona Cloak or Dona Shadow, I can't remember what it's called, but it protects a Signy on your field until end of turn. On your opponent's turn, specifically. Then its once a game action ability is you can target 2 Signy in your trash that share a color with each other, add them to your hand. Okay, so Dona's not hard to figure out, right? Because it's pretty clear with what it wants to do. It wants you to play a very specifically level 3 white Signies that are worth protecting. Once you figure that out, right, the whole rest of this deck becomes easy to piece together as to what you need to be doing. You need to be playing things like Exia, protecting them, protecting your life cloth for longer term, and punching damage back in. Here's the issue. And there's several ways that you can do that, right? You can play generically what I ended up doing here, which is something that's a little bit more of a combo-esque, mid-range, white-blue or white-green deck. You could, with annoying level 3s that are also very powerful, you could be playing powerful white mid-range cards that you want to protect. You could be playing aggro, where you're punching in a bunch of damage, and then your top end helps you to slow the game down for your opponent so they can't latch back onto the game. Or you can be playing a control deck, a white control deck, where you're looking at yourself and saying, my level 3 white Signies will win this game overall, no matter what, and I'm going to be able to basically search my deck for the cards that I want, because I'm going to pull stuff out of my trash, and that's going to make sure that I'm constantly like putting out annoying things. Inevitably, the issue comes down to basically this. Dona's level 3 guards your field, your Signy, and Signy aren't great at staying alive on your opponent's turn. Which is nice that it's changing the game a little bit, but we have competitively figured out that this game is better when you don't focus on keeping your Signy alive long term. It's a benefit if you do. Um, but it's not a requirement. And we have figured out this game requires you to push 8 damage over the course of this game. This Signy, this Elrig does neither of those things. Um, it's better, for example, its once a game ability is way better than its auto ability. Being able to filter something out of your trash and bring it back to your hand, Deus-esque, right, is really strong. And the reason why Deus is good about it, though, is because it's not necessarily protecting the Signy. It's saying it's very okay with the Signy going to the trash. It's just going to recur them and make it a nightmare for your opponents later down the line. Um, White also just doesn't have a great way to, like, it interacts with the trash a bit, but not enough that you're like, oh yeah, I'm milling myself, so this ability becomes innately better. The best thing that you could do that I figured out is eventually is that you want to play a mid-range strategy because you only get the shot to bring things back once. So you're best at saying I'm putting out a powerful Signy here and I'm protecting it, right? And this is going to help me snowball the game. And if you do that, it ends up being pretty okay. And I mean, like, that's the best way to bring this thing to power level. I don't think this deck is great. I don't think that you're going to be breaking any metas with it, but I think that if you're going to play this deck, this is the best version of it, and this is what's going to get you the most wins that you can, is by basically just putting power in the individual cards within your deck and allowing your deck to perform strongly as um, a robust main deck that you then get the benefit of being able to make really annoying for your opponent to deal with all the time. So the place to start with this isn't even the how do I build the assists? How do I build what are the power pieces that I'm running? The main way to start with this deck is going, how do I get the most annoying level 3 white powerful Signy that I possibly can? And by doing that, you start with Exia. Right? Exia is just the most annoying, powerful white Signy that you can do that you want to have basically shadow on your opponent's turn. Outside of that, then you start thinking, what is the next one? And it's Remember. So Remember and Exia have this no-bow with each other that Remember is a 15k as long as it's down, and Exia ups everything every turn. So you probably aren't playing them at the same time. You could. It doesn't matter if you do. But you probably are looking to play 2 Exias in one turn and then give 1 Shadow. That's going to be a nightmare for your opponent. After that, you think, what are the most powerful white Signy that I could be playing outside of that? And you end up with Komai. Komai ends up being very powerful in the fact that it can resurrect itself when it's upped on your opponent's turn, or any turn really, for 3 enter, so it ends up being annoying for your opponent to deal with anyways. So giving this Shadow is very strong on its own. It also solves a problem that Dona has, which is Dona does not have very much push damage abilities, and as such, Komai becomes a little bit more powerful and probably better. Something that maybe you want to consider having 3 of in the deck that I only have 2 of right now. But I think with the resurrection abilities that are in this plus Energy Door, we are okay with having 2 of in there. The next one that I also wanted to fit in here was 2 Penlight. I actually think Penlight is a super annoying Signy to have long-term on your opponent's end, right? It's even more annoying to have in play on your opponent's end, probably, than Exia is, if you can guarantee that this is going to stick around for multiple turns. Taxing the Elrig attack, especially when things are starting to turn, especially with Tama, things are starting to turn into, I'm not attacking with my Signy so much, but I am using my Elrig attack as my main source of damage, is extremely powerful. You could probably even cut down some amount of Remembers if you don't have as much DXM in your field and you want to go with more Penlights. Totally a viable option to do here. Plug and play as you can. I think these are the success Signies that you want to be looking at. And you base your rest of your deck around these 3 things. These 4 Signies. We need ways to get them. That's where Miracle Draw comes into play. We need ways to protect our life total prior to our level 3s. All right, cool. We're going to play really defensive, annoying Signis. What's better, when we end up saying, let's give Exi a Shadow, right? Or let's give maybe something a little easier. Let's give Remember Shadow. Your opponent's just going to go, all right, cool, I'll kill something on your other end of your field. And you go, all right, well, how do I make it annoying for my opponent to kill those things? Zhao makes it annoying. It's got level 2 or less Shadow. Toyoki has 8,000 power on your opponent's turn. Picture Frame is 12,000 power and combos really nicely with Komai because it ups itself when your Elrig attacks, allowing you to get in for some extra damage and then up itself to still allow yourself to get in there with Komai. It also allows you to up Komai if you needed to in order to make it so that Komai has the ability to survive into your opponent's next attack. Basically, your level 1s and 2s at this point should just be really sticky and really annoying to deal with very few exceptions, right? Haniel is the one that draws you cards. This is a multicolor because we just needed a little bit more green. And then Needle type Shuai allows us to have a little bit more opening power in the Elrigs, in the, in the Life Burst slot, which I felt this deck needed a little bit more of. Otherwise, you could use, for example, Akufuku here instead. I thought we needed a little bit more damage push, so I ended up going with the Nettle type Shuai. We also have Chirin. So Chirin has actually become better and better and better as I play it. It's pushed its way up to even 3 in these decks that run primarily green or secondary color green in my deck. Having the ability to enter charge just to get ourselves a little bit extra Komai push or a little bit extra of this 3 this 3-lane shutdown is pretty important. So I like having 2 Churins in here. And then that's pretty much the deck, right? We've got a little bit more push here with Ana being in here and being something that is able to have a pretty good life burst and also do some removal for us. Just a little bit of extra damage push. But you'll notice that there's really very little damage push in the main deck, right? There's and I had to justify that somewhere. So the justification came then, I then put in Nanashi. Now, the reason why I decided not to go with mono white in this deck, because I think there's also an argument to be made with mono white, is I wanted to play Energy Door. Specifically, that's the main reason. I wanted to play Energy Door and I wanted to play Komais, and that was enough reason for me to push myself into 3 colors. Nanashi does not need Black Enter to function. And the other thing that it does incredibly well is just constantly giving you ammo to open up at least 1 lane on your turn per attack phase, which pairs really nicely with Komai. So you can open up 1 lane and then attack through that slot and then have 2 things still available for Komai. That's the main reasoning for it. On the rare occasions where you might have 2 lanes open, not through Nanashi, but maybe through one of your life bursts, that's where Picture Frame comes in. You can go ahead and play Picture Frame in one of those slots, bring Picture Frame back up, and still attack with, still have the extra ability with Komai. It also has some redundancy that you can bring stuff out of your trash, which now makes your trash a little bit more toolboxy with Dona's son's ability. And you also can enter charge with it. You're very rarely going to do the enter charge, but you might need it in order to pull off some Komais or in order to ensure that you have the ability to Mel Invisible. Now, something interesting to state with this enter chargers, we aren't really used to playing with good enter chargers at level 1 that also take stuff out of your trash. Theoretically, the stuff that you take out of your trash is better than just your random straight up enter chargers because it allows you to underinvest in things like your second color or your third color, and it will allow you to then still get the abilities off that you might be looking to do. In the future, you're probably going to be playing less of these multicolors, for example, maybe even less of these level 3s, right? Or level 2s. And then you're going to end up in a scenario where you only have 2 or 3 you only have 2 or 3 greens, and this allows you to pay for invisible, but also pay for energy doors. You're getting multiple uses out of your greens. So this ends up being the choice that you're going to go with mostly rather than the Vanish version of this level 1. And then Mel is just going to be your average 3-lane shutdown that you're looking to do, because since this is so purely offensive, you do need a very defensive to balance it out for mid-range. The last slot that we need to talk about is Energy Door, which is new. It has the ability of, basically you do this on level 3, it costs 3 enter. You can choose up to 2 Signi without guard from your trash and put them into the enter zone. You get to draw 2 cards. You get to target level 1 or level 3 or higher Signi on your opponent's field and vanish it. And then the first time you take damage on your opponent's Elrig, your next turn you don't take that damage, right? You get to pick 3 of these. This is a very, very, very good card, and it's a workhorse that not many people are going to talk about. If you were to ignore let's just ignore the first one right off the bat. If you were to just say, yeah, I decide to draw 3 cards, vanish something, and I'm also going to auto guard my the next Elrig attack, this is really good already, because it also dunks on your opponents if they choose to be a heavy discard deck, because a lot of times these heavy discard decks are heavily stripping your cards out of your hand to specifically strip out a guard. So being able to auto guard and not have to worry about the guard in your hand is a huge thing in this game that not many people talk about. Drawing 2 cards to make sure that you have the ability to then go off with Mel Invisible, or just having that so that way you have the ability to fill out your lanes, is huge. And vanishing on your opponents to open up 1 lane again, that's just repeating, opening up 1 lane so that way we can still Komai, is very, very nice as well. Now, you could be saying, Andrew, why aren't you thinking about enter charging? You just said that enter charging from your trash is particularly good. Yeah, you could, but then basically what you need to do is you need to read this deck as 1 enter and pick 2. That's the way that I do it in order to shortcut it in my head and make it better. Paying 1 enter to basically Summer Lives Blues is really, really, really good. And paying 1 enter to vanish and also to open a lane and also auto guard on your opponent's turn is also really, really good as well. Pick and choose what you think you need to do. But I think Energy Doors is something that's really good, especially in this deck, which is a little enter greedy. Between the fact that it needs stuff for Komai, it also needs stuff for setting up the viruses in the first place. Overall, I think this is a strong mid-range white-green deck. I think this is the best that you're going to be able to really pull off with Dona. You're going to notice I did nothing with coins with this, and that's because white-green really doesn't have very good coins resources. In the future, there might be some bet guards that are better with white and green. Right now, those don't exist, so yeah, you're just going to have coins and not use them. I don't think that's bad. I don't think I want to bring in blue or red specifically to try to make up for that. If I was bringing in red, for example, instead of this black, to try to bring in some damage output and then also have good coin usage, I might as well switch over to Tama. Tama does all those things better. You could, I suppose, but I think this is the best way to bring out Donna's specific things and just ignore the coins. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any different ideas or deck directions you'd like to go with it, let me know.